Good afternoon, welcome to the TheoTrade afternoon video. I am Blake Young and today is May 1st, 2025, and we're going to talk about some counterintuitive plays. Honestly, we're looking at a significant amount of negative economic data. You can see it here on the chart. This is just this week, and you can see that we've had negative JOLTS, meaning job opening and labor turnover. We've had negative ADP, again, employment data. We have employment tomorrow. We have weekly unemployment claims worse than expected. We have slowdowns in manufacturing. Manufacturing prices rising. We have inflation while not seeing any growth. And so this overall is fed into the whole fact that we have a negative advanced GDP number for the first time since the COVID crisis. And so as we're looking at that negative GDP number, we're seeing this as a sign of recession. Now, normally I would treat recession as an indication to get away from technology, but technology had a gap up, close higher after a positive day yesterday, engulfing the previous price action, breaking out of one of my indicators as a single standard deviation Bollinger Band. So this is interesting to see technology doing so well, part of it driven by Microsoft and Google and being lifted by the big tech players and their earnings. As we're looking at this, I do think there's some opportunities. I've looked at this and would jokingly say there's a 3M opportunity. Not 3M as in the company 3M, but there's three stocks that begin with the letter M that might be worth trading on this breakout. And again, normally I would look to be bullish into bonds. Now, I will be setting up some defensive bond positions in the deep currents and sending those out likely tomorrow morning. But as we're looking at technology, I'm just going to walk you through some of the technology breakouts. We'll save the defensive position for the deep currents and look at more of a directional swing trade here in the afternoon video. So since technology is doing well, I thought I would look at the technology sector and see who is breaking out that do not have earnings today or tomorrow. And that's going to bring us into stocks like Marvell and Micron and maybe even Nvidia. But let's start with Marvell and Micron. And with Marvell first, we'll do Micron second. It doesn't look that exciting, but I see a basing pattern in here. We have higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows. And as long as we clear this high being 61.30, that would tell me we're going to fill this gap. And that would be a full confirmation of higher highs, higher lows. And the high that we put in today was 61.78. So we traded above the high of 61.30 and closed the day back inside of it. So that's a little bit of a question for me. We broke out price-wise, but we didn't close above the previous high close. I would like to see it close above this previous high close, and the best part about this is Marvell has probably been discounted significantly enough that it could be worth trading not only up here to about 71 and profiting about 15%, but I think this gap area up at 88, 89 could be a target. And it all depends on how much volume we can get pushed behind Marvell on this bounce. We have some increase in volume on today, and we just need follow through, really is what it comes down to. Marvell has been interesting to watch, but I'm going to wait for a close above that 61.30, and if it does, I will be looking at taking probably a in-out type of spread to trade that up to 71, but I also might take a longer term 90-day call to see if we can get all the way back up to 90. If we can do that, we're talking about a 30% return to just return to the gap from previous earnings. And we do have earnings coming up, so it'll be interesting to see if we can get there first. Let's take a look at Micron, MU. MU has traded up through and cleared again. It's kind of that previous high, but closed down. Similarly, I think this higher high, higher low could be the potential to reverse out of this and move back up to the recent highs. I'm not going to go all up to the highs, but I'm going to target about 89. Not as big of a return. We're talking about a 13% return, but I need it to close above this close. And so if we close above 79.78 on Micron any day, then I would be looking for a return to about, let's just call it 90 to make the math easy. Should go up there and test 90. And so we'd be looking for about a $12 to $13 move on a $78 stock. And Micron's poised to create a higher high, higher low, and a breakout. And it had a good day, a 1% day. I'd like to see the volume pick up, but let's get through that level and move higher. The third M is Microsoft, and they were driven based off of earnings. Now, Microsoft already gave us a breakout. It told us that we were looking to go bullish back here a couple days before earnings. We gapped down, closed out, up, creating an expansion pattern, closed out of that Bollinger Band, but to confirm the price pattern breakout, I wanted to see it close above here. Well, clearly, it closed above there today on earnings, but the gap up, close down is what we consider an exhaustion gap, and an exhaustion gap usually says it's going to try to work towards filling that gap. I'm not going to bet on it filling the gap. I'm going to bet on it returning back into this area about 607. And so if price can fall down to 406, 407 in the next 2 or 3 days, I would consider that an opportunity to buy from 406 to 407 and retest 440. So if we could buy at 406, have it go up to 440, we're talking about a 9 to 10% move higher in Microsoft, and a short put vertical should work out pretty well if we fall back and test that level. If we want to get back to 400, I think it's certainly a better opportunity, higher reward, but just be careful about it filling the gap. I don't think it will. I think we're going to probably come back and test 406, maybe 400, and a test and a bounce off of 400 or 406 should set us up for anywhere from 7 to 10% return and getting back up to 440, which is the high we put in today. So watch it pull back and give another run up to that 440. And I did say that Nvidia could be interesting to us, but it didn't break out. It didn't even trade through the high like some of the others did. I need this to close above 114 before I'm going to step into Nvidia. But Nvidia should be lifted by these companies like Microsoft and others if we see more movement towards the processing space. Now, that's to be seen. We need the confirmation. We need the others to continue to move higher, and that demand would likely lift Nvidia back up off of its lows, creating higher highs, higher lows. But it's not nearly as strong as what we're seeing in the other stocks. So I'm going to stick to those 3 M stocks, meaning we're talking about Microsoft, Marvell, and Micron. And for a precursor, for those interested in bonds, we can see that we broke out and pulled back. This is what I was waiting for. We saw the cross and the moving average and this significant gap down, close down in bonds. I'm looking for it to establish some sort of support level near 95. And then we'll be talking about new entries potentially as early as tomorrow in the Deep Currents program, where we'll be stepping into either bonds or our fixed income substitutes if we can stabilize and adjust that to about 95. That's going to do it for me today, though, so I will talk more about bonds in the main room tomorrow. Have a great night. I will talk to you again next week. And if you have any questions, email support@theotrade.com.